Look at the agenda, any changes to the agenda?
Awesome. First thing is we're going to discuss technical finances.
Everybody was invited.
Okay. I'll discuss that. And if Mark shows up, we're going to get into discussion about it. We'll get next to it.
Mark, are you online? You don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just
I am
checking.
on the line. I can't hear very good, but
All right, we'll speak up. Bruce, do you need to add 2 things into your report, or under new business, you wanted to add what? Say again.
Ransomware or protection of what's doing for backup for our financial. I'm curious to know, is this an Emmerich thing?
I have a backup,
hey,
I have
Dot.
a external backup, and Nemrick backs up every night, 1 o'clock.
David?
Paying any attention.
God.
It's almost impossible for any of us who aren't in that room to hear anything you are saying right now. It's cutting out constantly. The only person that we can hear kind of clearly is Guy. Everybody else, I didn't hear anything that Bruce said, so I don't know what that was.
Testing.
Is that any better?
Can you hear us any better?
A little bit better, but the bigger problem is, where is the microphone? Where is the microphone at?
Microphone is the shotgun microphone on the camera.
Okay, all right. That's probably not going to work very well, but I guess if that's all we've got.
Oh, shit, everything works so fine.
Yeah.
Two. Can anybody hear anybody?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me, Glenn and David? Mark?
You're really
Yes,
low.
we can hear you and we can hear Guy fairly well. The bigger problem is going to be the people who are farther away. I mean, it will help if everyone there will enunciate and project a little bit, probably.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, let's try to roll on then with the meeting. All right, so we had 2 additions to the agenda. Items I and J, ransomware, and J, field estimator under new business for brief discussion. Any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we shall move forward. Let's take a look at the minutes from the June 16, 2021 Select Board meeting. Does anyone have any additions or changes to page 1 of 5? None? Does anyone have any changes to the draft minutes? Page
Sorry,
2?
I have some changes to page 1. Sorry, I don't. Can you hear me,
David?
Dot?
Yes.
So I would just like to suggest that in the chart of the rates, that rather than the word previous and changed to, we have them be what they were on the chart that I circulated to the select board, which is instead of previous, can you make that FY 2021? And changed to should be FY 2022.
Oh, good idea.
And then I would ask, as I mentioned at the meeting, if we can remove Assistant Town Treasurer Judy Akampora, $20 and $20, remove that from the budgeted rates column. It can be left in the additional non-budgeted rates, but remove it from the budgeted rates. Does that make sense, Peter?
I don't know which column that would be.
The second column
It's
here.
the one that's titled, you've titled budgeted rates, the first
Budgeted
part of the, yeah, I mean, there's a, where it says budgeted rates, previous change to, if you go down to the 6th line, it says Assistant Town Treasurer Judy Akampora. Could you just remove that entire row from that table,
Oh, sure.
part of
Yeah.
the table?
Come on.
Cool. And you got the changes to where it says in the, under the budgeted rates header, where it says previous and change to, you'll change those to FY 2021 and FY 2022.
It is done.
Cool, thanks. That was all I had.
Okay. Any changes to page 2 of 5?
I
Oh,
have
page-
one comment on page 1,
Page 1?
yeah, under E, set the tax rate. The bottom line where it said that it probably had not yet been forthcoming from the state. I would suggest we change had not yet been to would be forthcoming from the state.
I don't see that. I'm not sure where you're at.
Set tax rate for 21 on item E on the minutes.
Oh, item E.
Note that no tax rate has been received, that it probably has not been forthcoming from the state.
Well, it was forthcoming, it just wouldn't, it wasn't here yet. So rather than say not yet forthcoming, I thought I'd say would be forthcoming.
All right, there's an edit for
It
item E.
doesn't make
Okay. Any other changes on page 2?
Done that.
Page 3?
Yes,
All right, Bruce, what changes do you have?
under draft minutes B, Ms. Madger moved at Dan Tower be appointed. How you want to word that?
Oh, Ms. Maggio moved that.
Oh,
Dan
that, Dan
yes.
Tower be appointed, okay, I should figure that out.
All right. Anything else on page 3? Page 4? Any items on page 4?
No.
Page 5? Any items on page 5? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the June 6th.
Oops. That's a little technical problem. If you guys can hear us, we just lost your entire signal, so we have no video or audio of you in the room.
It's back on.
And now you're back. Now you're back.
Okay,
Can I suggest that you go back and remake that motion and everything?
sure. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the June 16th, 2021 select board minutes as amended. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended for June 16th signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry, who's second?
Bruce seconded it. Okay, motion has passed.
I just want to say it's gratifying how many people read these minutes thoroughly.
Yes.
Oh.
All right, there are no members scheduled from the public, and there are no unscheduled members appearing this evening. We'll now move on to new business. There are no treasurers online at this time. They've been asked, emailed, I don't know what to say. We did receive by attachment today. So I guess we're gonna have to table this and move it to the next meeting. We did receive the balance sheet for the previous year for dated June 30th, 2021. And it came this afternoon, so I know that that's always a problem with the timing, so.
It was emailed, by the way, 2-3 days ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's on the road.
Oh, the financial, yeah.
The financials, okay. All right, we're gonna table the treasurer's report again. The select board recommendations for changes in the budget reports were made via email, but will also have to be tabled so that until the treasurers are available to discuss this. So we're gonna table item, new business item B as well. Next item is a list of approved vendors. It was pointed out at that our regularly used vendors need to be approved during the first select board meeting of the new fiscal year. These vendors should have on file at town hall a current certificate of liability and, if appropriate, a contract duly updated and signed. This does not include those vendors for the town that are contracted via a competitive bid. Those that win a bid for a contract are sent a packet with the necessary paperwork, paperwork. The vendors that I could recall were A.S. Clark for road material, Sasamo Lumber for road material, Green Valley Carpet Cleaning for office cleaning, Why Not Work does 4 ancient cemetery cleanups, Why Not Work does round schoolhouse and town hall yard mowing. Bloom Enterprise LLC does the town ball field mowing. Bloom Enterprise LLC does Riverside Cemetery mowing. Brattleboro Salvage Inc. does the recycling. Triple P Trucking does the recycling. Scott Bovat is our plumber. Nancy Burke is the water testing at the daycare, although she has a business name. Dompierre Electric for electrical work. E-Mark Bills for maintenance work as needed for the town. And Bruce, who is the name of the man who does the boiler work at the daycare?
I'm sorry.
Jeff, Bruce,
No, Pete Noble.
Pete Noble, Peter Noble.
Senior moment, sorry.
Are there any hesitancies about keeping these vendors on our preferred list for the fiscal year 2021, 2022?
Dot, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
I mean, first I'll say, I've been on the board for 5 years. This is the first time we've ever done it. Also, there's a horrible echo going on from somewhere. Anyway, I would, if we're going to do this, personally, I would like to see a list of these vendors and be sure that the names of the businesses and all that stuff is accurate before we approve it. So are we just suggesting people to be added to the list that we will then formally approve at the next meeting or something? Or are we actually doing some approval of all of these people right now?
I emailed this list out on July 2nd.
Did you? Okay, sorry, I don't recall seeing that, but I'll go look through my email now and find it. I guess from the sound of it, you were adding things to the list while we were just talking. So sorry, I didn't realize that this had been circulated. I'll go look for it now then.
Okay, yes, July 2nd, 11:29 a.m. It was brought up by Judy Akampora that our purchase policy, has that statement in it that, the vendors need to be approved annually. And it was something that has not been done before, but, and this was the list.
Scott?
Sure. Okay, so can I ask a follow-up question then? So
Yes, sir.
who else would, so, I mean, I apologize for not having seen the list before, but this list just looks like what you could think of understandably from the top of your head. And were we going to have anyone in any of the treasurers reconfirm any of these, or if there are other ones that Bruce is now thinking of? I guess this still doesn't really sound like a particularly definitive list.
Okay, I will have to say that we did bring it up at the last meeting, and I told you I was going to send the list out. I went through
Yeah.
accounts payable warrants to look up these names, and the only one that I couldn't think of, because he hasn't done work recently, was the Peter Noble on the list. But I certainly can. This email was sent to Judy, Samara, Mike, Guy, and the select board members, because I wanted the treasurers to return the list correctly, and it wasn't done, so we can certainly table it to the next meeting, and that's fine, and make sure we get a response for it. Is that something that, Stan, you wanted to say something? Speak up for the.
Yes, this list of preferred vendors began in 2000 and I believe it was 12 or 13, when the purchase policy was adopted using the guidelines from VLCT. At that time, we did have a list which we approved at a meeting like this 2 years running that I can distinctly recall, I think before I left. So it is something that has been done in the past in compliance with that requirement on the purchase policy. The only individual that I don't think we have a proper name for is Nancy Burke, and I think it's Townsend Water Testing.
Yes,
Yes.
Townsend water testing.
Yes,
Yeah, she changed too.
And frankly, I don't know if we really need to go through the added effort to create a formal list. Since they're referenced, they've been paid sufficiently along the way, and not in terms of numbers of times, et cetera. I think we should just go along and approve the list as it is presented tonight. This isn't just made up from the hip. It was something that we've been doing, utilizing.
You guys just lost your signal again. We can't see or hear you, FYI.
We're back on?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much else.
Now you're back on.
It could be so many other things. We could be as technical as we want to make this, that we don't. So I'm thinking that in the practicality and functionality of the fact that with a small board with limited people, that this list is sufficient in my opinion.
And it's just to satisfy a policy notation, that we will continue to use these vendors in the upcoming year with, for their typical monthly or weekly work that they do for us. And we're just putting them on record. And it will also serve as a checklist for the treasurers to make sure that they do have a contract and liability paperwork on file that is up to date. So.
Okay, well, then maybe we should mention it if it's not a complete.
It's not a complete.
Okay, that's fine then. That all makes sense. So then, do we want to make a motion to approve the list that you sent out?
And then we can discuss. Yeah, are you gonna make a motion or shall I?
I'll second it.
We didn't make the motion yet.
Oh, I thought you meant.
Then I guess I'd make a motion that make a motion that we approve the list of preferred vendors as emailed by Dot Maggio on July 2nd.
Okay, you have a second.
Second.
All right, Stan Noga seconded. Any discussion?
Just so it's understood, this is not a complete list.
Okay, so it is understood that this list is a living document, and as the year goes on, if there are other vendors that the town decides to work with on a regular basis, that we will bring it to the attention of, will be on the agenda for updates. But I will ask our treasurers to actually comment on this, as soon as possible, see if there's anything else. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the preferred vendor list from that was circulated on July 2nd, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion has passed. We have a preferred vendor list for 2021, 2022. Thank you very much. Okay, next item is to set the tax rate for 2021, 2022. I do note that we did get our homestead tax rate as being 1.8093%. And non-homestead tax rate is 1.6048. The total municipal tax rate as calculated by our treasurer is 0.4048. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the total municipal tax rate at 0.4048. For 2021-22. May I have a second? Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the annual tax rate for 2021, 2022 for the town of Brookline at a rate of 0.4048, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Any abstain? The municipal tax rate for the town of Brookline has been set and voted upon. Thank you very much. All right, stranglehold contract for the Wyndham County Humane Society. Okay, the Wyndham County Humane Society contract for 2021-2022 is for $350. They signing this contract will satisfy the state 20 VSA 3381. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the contract with the Wyndham County Humane Society for the price of $350. May I have a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Gwen. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the contract for animal holding with the
You guys lost your signal again.
There it goes. Okay, all those in favor of approving the contract for animal holding with the Wyndham County Humane Society for the cost of flat fee of $350 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much. The contract has been approved. Next item on our agenda, the maintenance cleaning of the town hall building. It was asked to be put on the agenda for discussion. Mr. Mello, I believe you requested that item.
I did? Okay, I'm good.
Nice and loud.
Nice and loud, everybody can hear me? I see my voice still carries. Anyway, we just had it cleaned 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, Doc? And I wanted to propose that we do it on a regular basis. There was some discussion between Gwen, Guy, and myself.
You'll have to speak up, Bruce.
How's this? Better?
Yes, talk to
Better.
the
Okay.
microphone.
Glenn and Guy and myself had this discussion about 3 or 4 weeks ago as to how pertinent it was, if I got this right, guys, right? In terms of repetitiveness of having the town office clean. I wanted to do it once a month. Glenn wasn't really too excited about doing it once a month. I don't know what Guy felt, so I wanted to open up to everybody. I think that we should consider getting this building clean on a regular basis and not like it's been done before, where it's been dumped on the town clerk and assistant town clerk to clean the building. Have somebody come in and clean it, clean the windows periodically and have some kind of a schedule to do it. That's the whole story.
All right, so we'll start with our online presence. Gwen, since you're in the town office, what would you like to see as a schedule for having an outside agency come in to do some heavier cleaning than
I don't think it needs to be done once a month, maybe every 3 months, but I don't think it needs done once a month.
I don't know.
Guy?
I hear Guy back there moaning a little bit, Mr. Sanders.
Mom and Dad disagree with me.
I think the town cleaning is relevant to the weather situation, so in the winter, especially where we have snow, salt and everything else, the floors need to be tended to, and I would like to get on a regular basis of once a month, let him come in and do what he's supposed to do the floors and everything else. He could do it in an hour and a half, if that's worked with you, because the last time he was here, how long? An hour and a half?
He was here for 2 hours. He told
Okay.
us.
But that was dirty. I mean, he did it.
Yeah, so I think he could probably do it in an hour and a half or two, whatever is, he may have a minimum thing, but yeah, I could see it once a month for sure.
Okay. Stan, how do you feel about it?
Oh, I am gonna split the difference. I'd say every other month.
Okay,
Cause I think quarterly basis is.
too much.
Almost in the winter months, as Guy said, the sand, the snow, salt, probably those kinds of things needed to be cleaned up more frequently. And in the summertime, unless it's raining, I suspect that there probably isn't an awful lot of debris, dirt, whatever being brought into the building, so.
Okay.
Something in between for me
Yeah.
would seem to make sense, and in a way, everybody's kind of met at a halfway point, hopefully
Yeah,
everybody happy.
Okay. Bruce, how do you feel?
I think it's great. I mean, that everybody even having this discussion at all. I think the flexibility is great. I think developing a relationship with this person is the most important thing. And I'm sure if we have an incident where we need a little bit of additional maintenance, we can call up and say, can you come in 3 weeks or whatever? So I like everybody's suggestions, and if we want to meet up somewhere in between them of what I said, and what Stan said, or whatever, I'm good with any of it. I just like what I see right now. The building is clean. I don't want my town clerks doing it. I don't think it's right. That's my, I want it clean, no mice poops, disinfected. We have a lot of people that come in here. Amen. I guess I've made my point.
David?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea for us to develop some kind of schedule. I guess I'm curious about, what we would define as the scope of what this person was going to be responsible for cleaning, how frequently we do it, what is this going to cost? This is obviously not something necessarily that we've budgeted for in the past, so where's that money going to come from until we develop a new budget, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea and we should do it. It's just working out the particulars of it.
Okay, very, very good. I'm gonna ask Mr. Tanza, what am I gonna ask? I am aware that it's $40 an hour. What I would like to do is I can put this on the agenda for the next meeting. In the meanwhile, I will contact Peter, who is the gentleman who came in to do the cleaning, and discuss with him, come up with a list of things that he would do and how long it would take him to do it, and present it for an official vote at the next meeting. Is that all right with everybody?
Sounds wonderful.
Good with
Okay,
me.
Yeah, sounds great.
okay.
Sounds good.
All right, the next thing is one of the most important things that we're going to do this evening, and that is the American Rescue Plan Act It's a resolution to accept funds. Basically, I hope everybody read what I sent you. I'm going to read the motions assuming that you've read the paperwork, did you?
Somewhat, yes, I did.
All right.
I went through, yeah.
All right, I would like to make a motion that the town of Brookline accept its allocation of coronavirus local fiscal recovery funding, CLFRF, from the US Treasury, along with the award terms and conditions and assurances of compliance with the civil rights requirements that are the requirements of accepting these funds. May I have a second?
You have it.
Bruce Mello has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion that the town of Brookline accepts its allocation of the coronavirus local fiscal recovery funding from the US Treasury, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any abstentions or what's the other word?
Opposition.
Opposition? Hearing none, the motion has passed. I would like to make a motion to name and appoint Dorothy Maggio, myself, to serve as the town of Brookline's authorized representative as required by the coronavirus local fiscal recovery funding from the US Treasury, which means to sign the award terms and conditions and assurances of compliance with the civil rights requirements by the July 15th, 2021 deadline. Again, the authorized representative is an individual which has the legal authority to bind the government entity. An authorized representative must sign the acceptance of award terms for it to be valid. May I have a second for appointing Dorothy Maggio, chairperson, as that authorized representative?
Second,
Seconded by Stan Noga. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of authorizing Dorothy Maggio to be the authorized representative to sign the acceptance of the award term for the town of Brookline signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. I used to be your representative and sign this.
thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Number
More
three,
work, you just hear me, right?
it's just a signature. Number
Okay.
three, I'd like to make a motion to name someone as the contact person for the town of Brookline CLFRF award from the US Treasury. This contact person should be the person who will perform the administrative tasks associated with the ARPA CLFRF funding, such as tracking and managing the terms and conditions, compliance, reporting, etc., on behalf of the municipality. And in my motion, I was going to suggest the treasurer.
Yes.
May I have a second and then we'll discuss.
Ooh, okay, I'll second it.
Bruce is gonna second my motion to have the town treasurer be the contact person. Okay, now we'll have a discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, Bruce, yes, speak up, go.
We got an issue in that Mike Masters doesn't know that we're doing this to him. So if it hasn't been mentioned to him, this could be kind of null and void, and we only have until the 15th.
You have to speak up.
I apologize. This could be an issue in that Mike Masters doesn't know about this yet, and we have until the 15th in order to verify all this, correct?
Correct, but he is the treasurer and it is the treasurer's responsibility, that's part of the job description. And the
Right.
treasurer's job description is to keep track of the monies that come in grant, things like that.
Okay.
He could farm that off to Judy Alcambora, who's the bookkeeper, and she could probably be the one. that
We
would-
do have a treasurer, we have several assistant treasurers.
Yeah.
And, okay, so any other discussion on this point? Hearing none, all those that are in favor of the motion to name Michael Masters as the our treasurer as the contact person for the town of Brookline's award from the US Treasury, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, all the motion has passed. Our treasurer will be the contact person, and we have now completed the requirements in a public meeting for accepting these funds. And I will, as the representative, go to the portal and finish filling out the paperwork. And we don't know what the funds can be used for yet, but we will make the deadline and we will be in line for some money. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item. Item H, Disability Rights of Vermont Polling Place Accessibility Survey Report for the Town Hall. We received a visit in which the Tina Hagan, a senior investigator for the Disability Rights Vermont, came through and reviewed our access, and there were two deficiencies that
You guys lost your signal.
Sorry.
we can, yeah, what happens when we lose the signal, I get a big rainbow on my screen, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. The two deficiencies was the ADA van parking space and signage, and a beveling of the wheelchair ramp into town hall to remove a 1.25 inch of a bump that a wheelchair would have a hard time getting into. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure where we go to. I'm sure they could tell us where we would go to get the markings and distances and size of van parking spaces and the signage and such. And I'm sure we could also find someone to bevel out or reduce the 1.25 inch bump for the wheelchair ramp. I guess I'll start with online. David, what do you have any comments about this, or have any connections or knowledge of ADA accessible parking spaces and signage?
I have no knowledge of it. I mean, these both sound like very reasonable suggestions, and I think we should investigate trying to address them if we can.
Gwen, anything you'd like to?
Maybe Mark, because he's dealt with signage and markings on the highway, maybe he knows who to contact.
Yeah, we can get the signage and stuff through
Oh, that's
this.
a good point. Mark, can you hear us?
I can hear half of it.
Okay. Mark, in your experience, do you see in the when you order signs, have you come across handicap parking signage? Is that something that we can talk about in the next couple of weeks with you about?
Oh,
getting
sure.
some sign?
Yes, I believe the company that I deal with on signage definitely has what you need for that, and I can meet up with you and bring you information.
All right, well, that's a good idea. Thank you, Gwen, for suggesting that. Stan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, is the contact person that Mark's referring to also going to be applying the line and the disability parking logo that goes in that parking space?
No.
Is that required? And I guess there's a question I have about that, and I don't know if the person that sent this might have said something when they were here.
Yeah.
But it gave two size spaces. I believe the 8 foot wide is for a car, the 10 foot wide is for the van.
Mhm.
Will, if we do one space, 10 foot wide,
That's what she wanted, the
that's
van.
all we need to do? We don't need to provide another disability
Right.
space?
It was basically for a van, and that was my understanding. They were very pleased with what they saw here, but they said these two things, and Mark can pretty much chisel out the cement and do anything. So it's a pretty easy thing to achieve without too much expense. And I know Mark has the ability to get the signage, and as far as painting the actual blacktop, I don't know. There may be someone that does that, you know, and Mark may know.
Yeah,
There
I
is
also.
there is a person. There is a person in Townsend who paints on blacktop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, there was somebody who I had thought about getting to write slow school zone, so I have it somewhere in my notes, but, all right, so Mark, I will be in touch with you about this, the van parking space and signage in the next week or so, and we'll bring the select board up to date when it happens.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, next we're gonna go to, we have an item I was added by Bruce. Bruce, you wanted to talk about, the security of our financial systems and ransomware. Bruce, you wanted to talk?
Yeah, I think you've already said it just a second ago. I don't know if we need to get the treasurers involved with this, or I can speak to this in as much as what's going
Bruce, you
on.
need to speak up.
How am I doing, Gwen?
Yes, speak up.
Better?
Gwen, have you got your speakers up all the way too?
I think so.
Projecting?
Okay, so project to the camera.
Okay. I think Doc pretty much hit the nail on the head when she just brought it up. But I was just really concerned after watching what's going on in this country right now, that how much of a risk this town is for our financials. And I'm wondering if NEMREC's involved, or what is done. In other words, can we create a back?
There you go, I'm sorry.
Okay, back
don't
on, go ahead,
Do
Bruce.
we create a backup for our financials? I'm a little bit, I'm not experienced with this at all, so I just know what I see, and what I see is not what's going good in the country. Go ahead, Guy.
NEMRIC every night backs up our files, every night at 11 o'clock. It's in a cloud, very secure, very done on a regular basis. As far as the other files, we have an external backup file, but cybersecurity, we use two wired guys, and he's got us hooked up with Avis, I believe, is our security thing. And Dan is very, very security conscious. There are some software programs out there, but they come with a price. And that's the problem. This cybersecurity thing, now everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, you know, to whatever they do. And it comes with a price. I don't know what the price is, but I would definitely speak with Dan Neal in regards to cybersecurity, because he's really right up to speed with that.
Okay.
And that, like I said, NEMRIC on a regular basis backs up our files to their cloud every single day.
Okay.
And they have, from what I understand, a good level of security. But there is nothing perfect out there, unfortunately.
Can you give me that acronym, please? Remember?
NEMRIC is MEMRC.
See, right, New England Municipal Resource Center.
Right, yeah, so a valid concern, and I feel a little bit better. We do have individual hard drive backups and
Yep.
cloud backup,
Yep.
so.
Yeah.
All right, item J that you wanted to bring up is a wheeled excavator.
Yeah, I mentioned it, I believe at the information meeting, and one of the projections this year that I had, that I wanted to see the select board consider was re-up the idea of the wheeled excavator. In the past, the select board had approved the wheeled excavator, and then it was shot down at town meeting, which is a different issue in that we didn't really need to bring it to town meeting, given the past grandfathered situation of what happened with the grader back almost 40 years ago, which Guy and I visited with paperwork last week. Not getting off on a tangent about that at this point. I wanted to start talking about the development of the need of having this wheeled excavator. Financially, we'll get into that a little bit later. We don't have to do that to even do that tonight. I have no problem being able to have this explained so that it's affordable for us to do it. In fact, it's almost stupid that we don't. But given that, I'm gonna ask Mark to chip in, because Mark gave me a pretty good explanation of the needs and uses of the if we had a wheeled excavator and what we're missing by not having it. So I don't know how prepared you are, Mark, after our little discussion last week, but I'm gonna turn the floor over to you for a minute and see what you have to say.
All right, thank you. And feel free to stop me at any time. But I had, well, just over this past weekend, we had some hard rain and some wind, and we ended up with a plugged culvert on one of our town roads, and we have nothing in town to go and fix this problem. And it's kind of an inconvenience each time we have an issue to have to call around and find a vendor or rent a machine and then come to the board and explain. On an everyday basis in Brookline, there is room for improvements to keep the roads in top shape. And being that it's a part-time job makes it tough to get things accomplished. I know it's a money-saving issue to be a part-time job, and it's working out, but there's just so much that could be done and be done efficiently if we owned another piece of equipment. We do own the town's road grader, which was bought secondhand and is working fine, but there's only so much you can do with a road grader. The road grader works great for scraping the roads when needed, but you can't do the things that are required to keep our roads maintained. One of the pieces of equipment we rented over the years, and so I've had an opportunity to try different machines and see how they work and what works good and what works okay. But for the past couple of years, we did rent a medium-sized wheel excavator, and the thing was just, I was so amazed at what the accomplishments that you can do with that machine. Now, this year, mowing is a big issue in town, and we have to rent the mower. And this year, more people are renting that same mower in other towns due to the lack of contractor mowers out there. And one of the things we started doing in our mowing season was we weren't getting our roadsides mowed until late September into October, when the plants have already died and the seeds have dropped. And so we, a few years back, decided to mow ourselves, and we've been renting mowers to get the job done. And we started a program of mowing early to try and keep ahead of these invasive plants. And so each year, I've tried to mow early, and that's working great. And however, the mowing program is costing us this year. It's up to $3,400 for 1 week, and that 1 week means they bring it on a Monday morning and they pick it up Friday morning. So to do our total amount of mile roadside, I have to hurry to get it all done. Now, back to this JCB machine that we rented, which is an excavator on wheels, that could also be used as a mower. 1 year we rented that same machine with a mower on it, and it does even a nicer job than the rented over-the-rail farm tractor. If we were to purchase a piece of equipment that was multi-use, that it could do our mowing, we could mow throughout the whole summer. Right now, because we mowed late June, I'm feeling like it could stand another mowing if it fits the budget. So that's just one thing that if we were to have a machine on hand, the convenience of having a machine. Convenience means a lot. You know, being able to come to town and spot something that needs to be taken care of, such as a plugged culvert or a tree in the road. This thing can pick up rocks, it can pick up trees, it can dig, it can replace culverts, it can help install signage, it can load and unload materials, it can pull a utility trailer with anything we need to do that needs to be brought to a job site. It travels at 25 miles an hour down the road. So having that machine at the town yard to be able to go and check the roads, and if there's an issue, go with that machine to that spot and correct the issue and then take it back. That would be so convenient and so efficient. And every time we get a rain, the roads change. The roads need a crown, and we need runouts so that this rainwater, when it leaves the road surface, it can disperse evenly out into the right of way. And so each time I grade a road, you need to make sure that all these runouts are working properly. And this is a year-round thing. You may get a rainstorm in the winter, and you need to open the snowbanks up every so many feet to allow snow melt and rainwater to escape the roadsides rather than eat the road up and continue all the way down the road. I've seen that happen numerous times, and we have nothing in town to fix it. The town owns a road grader, a 1988 road grader. They own a chainsaw. They also own a pole saw, which is a chainsaw for reaching high up. They also own a set of road rakes, which after I scrape the road, I pull the York rakes behind my pickup to deflect all the bigger rocks back to the ditch that are left in the road. So the town only owns like 5 things. And, you know, the town of Athens has one more mile of road than Brookline, and they have 2 guys with dump trucks and backhoes and excavators and rakes. And I mean, I'm not comparing us to them. I'm just saying that we only own the one piece of road equipment to maintain all of our travel. And so since our last select board meeting, I have met with Jeff Nugent from Wyndham Regional Commission, and we are signed up, and it's a state standard for us to on this road erosion grants that are available. And we're signed up for grants every year. And this year, Jeff would like us to start with, they've gone out and mapped our entire roadways. And there are priority sites, and then there's regular duty ditches. These ditches will be stone lined with 8-inch crushed stone, sharp edge stone that compacts into the ditches and keeps the silt from eroding away. And by the year 2025, as a state standard, we're supposed to have all of the segments of road that Wyndham Regional has mapped out for us is supposed to be done. And I think it's a great opportunity for the town to have a machine that we could use to do this work. We only have to pay back 20% of a almost $10,000 grant, and we just need to get the work done by their specs in a time manner. So I met with Jeff Nugent, and our first projects this year will be just off the pavement going up Putney Mountain. We've picked out the 3 of the priority segments. It's water that continues to run and will join into bigger streams, then rivers, then into the West River. So knowing that for the next 5 years or 4 years that we're going to have to apply, we're going to have to dig these ditches out and then line them with this crushed stone to be up to state standards with this Clean Water Act. This JCB 110 machine can do all of that work. It can dig the ditches, remove the material, and then a truck would come along loaded with this stone, and I reach into the body of this truck with the JCB 110 wheel excavator, and I can scoop stone out and line the ditch, and we both move just a few feet and continue the whole length. It's it's a thing that if we have this universal emergency vehicle, it can do the ditches, it can do the mowing, it can do the runouts, it can replace culverts, it can pick up a blown down tree, or it just has so many capabilities, and just the number one thing is convenience to accomplish anything that needs to be done in Brookline. And I don't feel it's gonna, overtake the budget. I believe that knowing we can save money in mowing and our contractor service that we budget for every year. Contractor service means anything that needs to be done on our highways to a certain point. And I feel that if we can purchase the right machine at the right price, that over a 5-year period of time, we can either lease a machine and buy it out at the end for $1. We can buy it over time. We can rent it with the rent to own purchase policy. But I think that half of the contractor budget could go toward the purchase of another piece of equipment for the town, and it wouldn't take all of the budgeted contractor money. There'd still be money in the contract service to do specialty things, but I feel somehow in our budget there is room to buy a second-hand piece of equipment that has so many capabilities just to help with the maintenance. And so I know there's more that I can add, but I'm gonna stop there.
Well, Mark, I think what you said is very true.
But I will address
I'm
it.
wondering
There's some
if
else you know that
any money that we get from
No, I
the
don't have time, but that's
COVID
interesting.
program, that
Thank you.
maybe that.
Guys, we can't hear you guys because you're talking over each other.
Mark, I was saying that your ideas are very good. We've heard this before. We should follow through with it a little bit more detail, and maybe there'll be some money in the award from the treasury that can be used for equipment, and that would be an ideal purchase. So it's something that I'm glad you put it on the agenda. We'll put it on a future agenda. And Bruce, you wanted to say something else, and go ahead.
I'm done. I want to drive one thought home. And you all know I'm high on Mark and the amount, and we all are, on the amount of work and the extent of what he does and the way he responds and the amount of work he does. And he is a one-man band. And I think we should do everything as a select board to give him all the tools we possibly can to help him be more efficient and do everything he just said. That's it.
All right, well, Mark, and Bruce and selectmen, select ladies, we will do a little research on this. If anybody wants to pick up the gauntlet on this and to start this ball rolling again?
I think Mark can, start doing the looking and report back to the select board.
All right, well, Mark, when I talk to you about some of the
Don-
ADA parking, we could also talk about that. David, you want to say something?
Yeah, can I just make a suggestion that when we're at the point where we're putting this back on the agenda to talk about it in more detail, we should also, I think, reach out to the other people who were on the ad hoc committee that we formed coming out of the town meeting when it was rejected, to bring them back into the discussion if they're available and interested in being in the discussion. Because let's remember, there was a committee that met numerous times over the course of a year, developed what they thought the town needed, and then also had a bunch of experiences with trying to go out and find that sort of equipment. So, I mean, they probably still have input to that would be valuable.
That's a good point. Thank you. Point taken. Anybody else would like to say anything? All right, thank you so much. We'll follow through on that, probably not the next meeting, but we will be addressing this and starting to do a little research. I'll have to find out who was on that committee and work out a packet. Okay, thank you so much. All right, we'll move on to old business. We're right on time, you know, caught up. I just want to let you know. Round Schoolhouse Grant Work Progress Update. Sam, I'm going to ask you to talk to us a little bit about that. First, to thank you for your due diligence and taking a look at it and putting plastic on the windows to prepare the painters. I'll let you explain to our residents who are watching. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Chris Parker, who was going to rebuild or correct the north wall, has done that. He's spliced some non-pressure treated wood into the west wall beam. And as of today, he repaired the two boards in the southwest corner of the attached shed that needed to be replaced. And I believe that in the next day or two, he is going to submit his invoice for payment. I think his bid was $3,000. And he's done essentially what he has promised to do. I personally would interject that I'm not necessarily personally pleased with the decision to the extent of work that was done, but it had already been organized and we were under basically a 45-day time limit to get this ball rolling. And when we decided to interject ourselves, if it would be allowed by the commission, I offered to simply ask if they'd like some assistance and they accepted that. So what I might have thought and what I might have communicated back to people has not happened, simply because it wouldn't be specifically pertinent to getting the jobs done in a timely fashion. So the work the structural work on the shed, some of the cosmetic work that I would have had done if I were doing it has been done. So I think, you know, I think when I look at the past phraseology between PVT, PVT and myself and the initial contract and the vagueness of it all, I think that I have no idea what the original commission members discussed with the president of PVT nor the field rep for PVT. So going with what was known to us as well, not knowing exactly what, but looking at what we have in verbiage in writing and what we got ourselves into. I'm glad that the job is finally, after 10 or 12 years, whatever the length is, to have it done. And the guy that's doing it, Mr. Parker, has done a very good job of what he's done, I must say. It's very neat, precise, beams are straight, level, what have you. So I have no complaints there. So I'm not sure, without his actual invoice, whether I would recommend that we take a vote tonight so that I can forward his invoice along to the state with photographs. He called me last week on Wednesday, I believe it was, and asked for payment, but he had not corrected the southwest corner board replacement. And he apparently did not read the scope of work that was sent to him by Dot. And I sent him an email the other night explaining that that was in that scope of work, and that if there were issues that he was not going to do what was in that scope of work, that he should have brought it up before he started doing work. And obviously that did not happen. So what he's done, I guess, is in compliance overall with what we wanted. And I guess I probably would want a motion that we, one of the motion I'll make in a moment is that we approve payment of his invoice as subject to the actual receipt of it, so that we don't have to wait 14 days to pay him, when that probably isn't what his normal payment method is. Regarding the painting, I did cover the windows with the plastic, and that's to keep the rain that we've had over the past week, and that we're probably going to have a lot before now and next Tuesday, so that hopefully the painting can proceed without delay because of wet frames and sashes, etc. I was going to, before today, email Mr. Holden to let him know that we've done that, but I simply haven't had the time given other responsibilities and the responsibilities that came prepared for today. So when I get home tonight, if we're going to do that, I will remind him that we've done that and ask him if he's got more specific a date to proceed on this.
I have a question, Stan. I recall, if you're gonna make a motion to pay Chris Parker for the work done on the round schoolhouse, it is being paid for through the PTV, is paying him directly, correct? Okay.
But they need, I believe, I may misunderstand this, but they want our statement that we have approved the work that's been done.
Yes.
Not necessarily approve their disbursement of it, because you're correct. The proper process of this is that we approve the work, supply them with photographs to substantiate that what was to be done has been done, and then send it along to them.
And then
And
they will.
and that we need to provide his address, his name, et cetera,
Right.
and the amount, which will be on the invoice, and they will submit the check directly to Mr. Parker. So you're right, that is the address. I guess what I'm looking for, I don't know if anyone has looked at the work. I know I did. I don't know if anyone else has it. I can tell you that he did do what he has promised to do.
Right, in the letter that I sent to Chris on the June 26th, it does say that the Preservation Trust of Vermont will be issuing the check to pay for your work on this project, so yeah, he's aware of that, that's a step.
He is aware, yeah. I don't think he's aware, but I did put it in an email to him within the last 2 weeks that we can approve it and we can send it along to them. We can provide them with the photos, but PVT has to approve it as well.
Correct.
So it's a dual process. It's not a matter of, we just say, okay, pay it, and they pay it. They've got that one step in there themselves.
Right.
Or completing it in the manner that they require.
Right, do you wanna phrase your motion?
Oh, okay. I motion that we approve the work to be in compliance with the contract, which was scope of work which was described to the contractor, Chris Parker.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
I guess I'll just say, as far as discussion, has any of the members of the Historical Society reviewed it, as far as you're aware, Stan?
Yes and no. When Chris Parker requested payment last week. He called Joe Dutton for permission to process this. At the time that the select board got involved, I was advised that Joe was not able to participate in the upcoming selectmen's meetings because this is a busy time of year for the business that he's involved with. I have had no contact from anyone else on the Historic Commission. Joe, I don't think got a copy of the letter or scope of work or the process from anyone on the board. And when he received the phone call last week, he looked at the work that had been done as of that time and said to me he emailed me that he was satisfied with it and it was okay to pay it as far as he was concerned. So it's not like it's a full commission vote. He is.
Yeah, but it's better than nothing. Okay. All right,
That
that's
is
good.
correct. That is correct.
Okay. Because I guess I'll just say I'm going to vote to approve this, but I've not even looked at the thing, nor would I be someone who would be able to judge the quality of the person's work. So I'm deferring to you and your attention to it and your understanding when I vote yes to approve it. That's all.
Thank you.
I concur with that as well. And I will add that I would CC the Wellmans and Mr. Dutton when I sent letters out to Mr. Parker and Mr. Holden, so I kept everybody in the loop. All right, so we have a motion on the floor, which has been seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving to the work completed by Chris Parker to process for payment through the Vermont Preservation Trust of Vermont, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. That motion passed, and we'll now wait on Mr. Holden's process, so I will add that for the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next item on here, well, for those of you that signed on at 6:30, you probably saw that we were playing around with the hybrid Zoom meetings. I'm very pleased to see that our town clerk has utilized a grant and has purchased a flat screen TV, which is installed. We have a new laptop computer here available for us to run our Zoom meetings. The only glitch was that the meeting was composed on my laptop, and so I'll have to do it on this laptop going.
Well, maybe not the only glitch.
I'm thinking, I hope it's not my laptop that's causing this.
No,
to
no,
happen on a regular
I
basis.
don't know, but
We'll work on it.
this is the maiden voyage and we'll have some corrections I promise by next meeting. By the way, that's the television that the town was able to secure with the grant.
Very good. So that's we'll get better at this as we move on, but it does make for the ability for people to still watch from home or to come into the town hall. Yes, sir. Sam.
I'd like to thank Guy for obtaining the grant and using it in a very prudent way to provide a good quality service to the town and make our existence and the citizens' ability to access this meeting a plus. And thank you, Guy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. That's great.
Okay, we'll move on to the Brookline ball field fence repair costs and such, and the scoreboard removal and storage. Mr. Noga, should I pass it to you or?
I'm sorry. The part regarding the entering the field and getting rid of the knotweed to access the sign and remove it, to then enable removal of all the knotweed, I'm not privy to, but maybe if Mark is still participating, he could elaborate on a time frame for that. But the part that I volunteered to participate in is pricing the posts to replace the 3 that are rotted and basically falling over. I checked with 5 different places, and the range of cost is pretty tight. I checked with WW, they do not have the 2-hole wood fence posts in stock. And these particular fence posts apparently are formally called mid posts as opposed to corner or end posts. Those are different and have a different price structure. I went to Leader Building Supply, and they do not stock any fencing like this. I went to Wayside Fencing in West Brattleboro. They have a post that is pressure treated, and it's a color that would blend reasonably well with those that are there. It's not gray, but it's a brownish gray. And so it wouldn't stand out to the extent that perhaps a regular pressure treated board with smooth yellow color would. And they're charging $15 for each post. Perkins Home Center has virtually the same thing, and their cost is $12.85 for each post. And then I was over in Walpole, and I stopped in at La Valley Home Center. And they have posts that don't have the 2 holes. You could make it it's a solid post, it's cedar, it's not pressure treated. And those are $7.69. They do have poles, same material, that are in fact containing the 2 holes. So the 2-hole posts that don't need to be modified by anyone. Those are $12.49. And they appear to be cedar, so they would last a while. So the range is pretty tight. I don't know, how anyone would feel cutting the holes. How we get 2 posts for the price of 1, but then we're only looking at a difference of $10, $15. So
What was that last time?
La Valley, L-A, capital L, small a, capital V-A-L-L-E, Home Center, yeah. Thank you.
I don't understand when you're saying that there is something that's colored. Is that the wayside fencing?
Yeah, the pressure treating process infuses a chemical.
Can I just ask a
necessary-
question? Sorry. Doc, can I just say, Stan, is this something that you could send to all of us?
I was going
Whatever
to
you're-
send it. I was
Whatever
going
you
to
have handed
send
out,
it.
because obviously, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was gonna send it, but in the past I've sent things before meetings and it didn't go over well, so I will be happy to send this out tonight before I go to bed for you to look at.
No, that's fine. It's just if Dot's gonna start asking detailed questions about it, just a reminder, Gwen and I aren't able to look at what you guys are looking at right now. That's all.
I understand, yeah,
That's
I indicated that, I did one other thing to assure you that, whatever we do is probably not going to adversely affect what's there. I went down the line and measured most of those posts. The variation between the width, the thickness, of them varies on each of those scales, anywhere from 2 inches to a ½ inch. The posts are approximately 6 inches wide. They're 2 3/4 inch thick, and all of those posts that are there currently have been hand cut. They weren't done by a machine, and they're all different from each other. So us selecting on something, any of these options, we're not going to be wrong in doing that in terms of does it match exact size, width. They're all approximately 6 feet long, and those that are there are I assume are about that length and stick out of the ground between 41 and 42 inches. So I'll be happy to get you a copy of these price lists for your review, and however and whenever you wish to approach the issue again is fine with me.
How many do we need?
3,
Just
3
of them?
votes, yeah.
Okay.
So you're asking, David, would you feel more comfortable if we,
No, I'm sorry. Let me just clarify something here. I'm not questioning, I'm not wanting to stop us making whatever decision we might make. I'm just pointing out, because I'm not sure that it was apparent to people, that those of us who are remote are literally not looking at the thing you're looking at. So if we were going to get involved discussion of various things that are on that sheet of paper. I'm just saying Gwen and I don't have that sheet of paper, so it won't be a very productive discussion. All that being said, I totally am happy deferring to Stan on what would be the easiest and relatively quickest option to get. I don't think we need to worry about having a long debate about it and getting all the details. I trust that Stan's done, more work on this than most people would, and I'm sure I agree with him that anything that we get is going to be good enough and close enough. So let's just get whatever's easiest for us to deal with and be done with it.
Right, so basically Stan read what was on the sheet.
If you'd like me to summarize it again, it's just the range in price is $15 to $7.69. There are two intermediate prices, $12.85 and $12.49. So those are the four numbers. Hopefully that's of some help to you.
Sure. And I guess I
The
would
cheap one does
suggest,
not come.
let's take into account what's the closest place for whoever to buy these, so we don't waste somebody's time. And to your point, Stan, I don't think it's worth saving us $6 that we then somebody has to cut the holes. Let's just get the pre-cut ones. It's not very much money. Yeah, totally.
What vendor do you think is closest for us to?
The easiest one would be Perkins.
All right, Perkins has for $12.85 each, pressure treated, 2-hole fence posts available and in stock. We need 3 of them. Okay, we need to make a motion that we approve the purchase of fence posts from Perkins for the baseball field repair. May I have a second? Seconded, Bruce, you were first. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of purchasing the 3 fence posts from Perkins for $12.85 each, pressure treated wood, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. The next item on there is talking about the scoreboard removal and storage. And I think Mark had said we might need to do another mowing later on in the season with all the grass and growth. I'm not sure yet. And if so, one of the things I would add would be to get in and knock down much of that knotweed. The scoreboard has fallen down into that weed. It got swallowed. Yes, and the weed has pulled it down. And I'm not exactly sure of its dimensions and how difficult it will be to remove it from the weed, but then also where we can store it until we can get that field fixed for next year. Got it, okay.
I'd be happy to help Mark if he needs assistance getting that knotweed around the sign, cut down and pull what's down out of there. So we can help him if he wants to go up to the shed and store it up there or wherever, if that'll facilitate things.
Mark, Stan has offered to work with you if possible to get into the knotweed where the baseball sign is and get it out of there and bring it to the town shed for storage. Is that something that you would be willing to work on with him?
Sure, I'm willing to do that, and I think town shed would be a great place to store that till it's ready to go back.
All right,
Sure.
perfect.
And as far as mowing goes, yeah, that would be great. If we end up renting that machine that was talked about, that could come with a mower and it could lift and mow it, so later on when we talk about it, those sound like good options to go for.
All right, excellent.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, Stan?
Mark, my schedule probably is a little more fluid than yours is, so when you're ready to do that, just give me a call or send me an email and I'll get right back to you and let you know if that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good, Stan.
All right, moving on now to summary and updates. Mr. Town Clerk Guy Tanza, the floor is yours.
Basically, it's business as usual. We've had a big influx of title searches now that we've relaxed the rules and we're back to normal. The office is open, to the public and a normal thing. Face masks are an option and everything is going as we planned. I think we have 87 dog licenses have sold and we're still getting on that. Our delinquent taxes are down to $4,400. So we're moving in a good direction with that. So everything is going as best as we can.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the items that you purchased with the grant, which is?
Back in maybe 8 months ago, the town had an opportunity to apply for an election grant. And the election grant was pretty liberal. It was basically to make voting a little more comfortable and available for everyone. So with the $5,000 that the town was awarded, I've purchased an air conditioner, a generator, flat screen TV, some of the peripherals that go along with it. And we also have some hours that we spent for the elections because they took a great deal of time and there are a number of elections. Right now, we're about $400 over the $5,000 allotted. But considering that we also, the mouse issue that we had here, that's been incorporated into the grant. So we're looking, I think the town has done very well. It's been a great opportunity and hopefully these items will be approved. I don't see why they would not be, but it's brought the town into the 21st century with the remote meetings. And I think that's going to be a thing of the future as we progress and go forward. We will fine tune this and it'll be something that'll be acceptable. The issue with the air conditioning I've learned tonight is that it is a little loud for the meeting, but then that depends on where we place the mic and everything else. So these are the logistics that will work out, but we're in the right direction. And I thank everybody who supported these things because it's going to make the town a better place, especially for emergencies and different things. The generator, as you see, Bruce, we'll do something with that, but the fact is that we have the generator.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to pay for the hookup, but we're halfway there.
More than halfway there.
Yep.
Good. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Tanza. All right, briefly, I'm going to go through a couple of items. As you are aware, we were all mailed a newsletter from the Brookline New Fame newsletter. I'm very pleased to see all the contributions that are there. There is always room for other people to write articles. So if you're interested in adding something to the newsletter for the next quarterly letter, that you can certainly submit a story. They asked for it to be in the third person and about 350 words. The new Okay, there we go. Item number 2, David Jones pointed out that Mark Anderson was on the video for the New Fame Select Board. I watched the video. He talked about the Wyndham Sheriff's Office hiring a civilian animal control officer and sharing the cost through several towns. Mark Anderson and I have played phone tag a few times, and so I don't have any direct conversation with Mark, but it's sort of like an insurance policy. They have 24/7 hour dispatch for loose animals. They would handle vicious animals and such. I will have to bring it back to the agenda when I actually talk with him. You still need to have a local animal control officer for the town, and but if you decide to join this small consortium of towns, so right now there are 4 of them sharing the officer, it is a possibility. So we don't have it budgeted for now, but it is something I'll follow up on and bring you information when I actually get to speak with him a little bit more. Late in the month of June, Mark told me about the signing of the grant paperwork for the town of Brookline. And so we have a letter of intent to participate in the municipal road grant and aid program that was sent in on time. Mark Bill's already told us that he met and worked with the office in the Putney Mountain work. I have that, and I have the municipal assistant grants and aid for Brookline. We received a grant of $6,700 for that particular work. I did reach out to David, our selectman David, to ask if he would continue helping to keep track of the road grants. And David, are you still saying yes?
I said I would do my best to help when there are things that need to be submitted, and I will do my best to pay attention to the pre-existing grants, which we already had, that we have paperwork that we'll have to be doing and continue to do while we go through those. Yeah.
Archie Clark, who's officially labeled as our road commissioner, do you think he'll pick up on some of this, or?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I assume he did in the past. What I'll say is, prior to a couple of years ago, when we had no road commissioner, I had never been involved with doing any of this stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't had any conversation with Archie about whether he can be involved in new things. I mean, I've pretty much been seeing through, or intend to see through, the paperwork end of things for grants that Mark and I collectively submitted a couple of years ago. So what the process should be for new grants, I don't know, to be honest.
All right. I did share with Archie the information that I got emailed, copied him, so hopefully he, if he needs to be reached, Mark, if you need to talk with Archie, I'm sure, he responds quickly enough to you, and if not, let me know and I can reach out to him too.
Okay.
All right, next item on my quick list here, diversity, equity, and inclusion training. If you were not able to observe the live webinars on June 21st and June 28th, I included in the agenda the name of the woman to email, and she will send you a copy of the videos that have been missed. The next live webinar is July 14th. Again, 3 to 4:30, which is during regular business hours. So if you can't make it, you can email her. My printer didn't give me the address here. It sort of turned pink, so I can't really read it again, but it's on the regular agendas. Okay, next building commissioner report. Oh, one other thing. I did have a town health officer complaint that came in from a resident who was concerned about the septic system of an RV on an adjacent piece of property. Mr. Noga met with me and came over and we walked the grounds. We talked to the man who owns the RV, and I also spoke on the phone with the owner of the property. We observed no health hazards or concerns. We saw no wet spots, and there is a complaint and an inspection form that's going to be put on file for future reference if need be, but it was a non-event. And next, we'll move on to building commission report. Bruce?
Okay, first off, Mark, if you could, when you get a minute, give me a buzz. I want to talk to you about a couple of things.
Okay, sure.
Whenever you get a chance, no terror. Okay.
Yep.
I did get the culverts. I don't know if you beat me to coming to the buildings last weekend. we're gonna drop the culverts behind both spots that we talked about.
Okay.
Okay, so you can call me tomorrow night, we'll talk more about junk stuff, a bunch of stuff, okay?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. First off, I want to bring up the relations to buildings, the round schoolhouse, we should might consider two things. We've talked about the sign, which is really faded, and screens, and Cynthia now has said it to me twice, and I haven't gone up to the screen place up on Route 30 to ask them. There are screens that you can put in supposedly that are built in such a way that they prevent moisture from coming, I'm sorry, prevent
Hey, Bruce.
moisture. Yeah.
This isn't necessarily these wouldn't necessarily be a perfect fix, but I have a couple of adjustable screens that I found in my barn years ago that could possibly function to serve as temporary screens in a variety of window sizes.
Okay.
I will be able to all drop them off at the town office for you to take a look at. Those
Okay.
might serve as a stopgap way of being able to open some windows.
Okay.
You'll see what I mean when I drop them off. They're adjustable, so they can
Okay.
adjust whatever orientation you put them. So you can use them to fit whatever width window if you slide the slider up, and they just fit into the box.
That's
So,
wonderful.
I'm
Thank you,
happy
that's
to
wonderful.
give those. I grabbed them a while ago and intended to give them to Joseph a while back, but haven't. So I'll leave them for you to take a look at.
Thank you. Anything
Sure.
that we can save some money, I'm all in favor of that. But I did want to also revisit the sign idea. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit down the road, to get that repainted. I don't know if we could get that as a part of the $500 we have left in that grant. I don't know if they would go for that at all.
You better ask some, rather than.
I know, I would say it's 7th.
You gotta make sure you're speaking loud.
I'm sorry, this is 7th of July, so we only have 3 weeks. What do you think, Sam?
Well, it'd be nice to get whatever we can from grant. If that's something that the board desires to do, then I would assume that I'd want to ask right away, so that we can at least get someone on the job, so to speak, working on it, at least report that they're working on it prior to August 1st.
Oh.
Now, there are two people I'm thinking of. I don't know if you've looked at who might do it. There's a signature of Tom Stats on the bottom of the current sign.
Is it?
I don't know if he did it. So you might check with him. There's a fellow in West Dummerston called Dennis Tier, Tier, who has done signs. And there's another gentleman in McCarthy Signs in Hinsdale, New Hampshire.
Oh,
So you got 3 individuals you could, if you're gonna work on that you could ask what it would cost.
it wouldn't hurt for me just to make 3 phone calls and have 3 discussions. I mean, that big of a deal.
I'm gonna ask that you make a 4th phone call and check with the Vermont Trust.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
see
Oh,
if
yeah.
that's something that.
Well, I can email Lisa and see if she would see if they would consider it.
See if they consider it and then see if we can.
Well, rather than, you can, I have no problem with that. But if she makes any comments about getting in contact from more than one person, you know, just let me know and I'll be glad to talk to her.
Okay.
I'm not saying I have any more weight or in than you
I know
do,
what you got.
it's just that, you know, she felt comfortable with the control level that we had at the time.
Okay,
And this is a variation from that, and I don't want to set the cart.
good point.
So I
Did you
just,
want to talk about it?
if you don't mind,
No, not at all. Anytime I don't have to do work, I'm happy. I got plenty to do.
Might
believe
be
me.
overwork here.
I got plenty to do. I'll move on, otherwise we'll get stuck in the mud. Back to the town office, I have, per what I said to you all, that been watching the mice every day. And unfortunately, damn, Monday, I got one right underneath us. over here.
Oh, really?
It's the first time that I got a mouse underneath the select board room since the first 3 days when we got all those mice at the beginning. And then there was that one time where I got the mice, I believe the previous Thursday, over in the southwest part underneath the town office. And that's all we have had in close to 3 weeks at this point. Stan and I have been in conversation about doing additional sealing. And I don't know if I sent any information to anybody else out, but I think the plan now is at this point to contact Scott at a certain point here and tell him what we have, what's been going on. And you've done a great job with noticing other leaks and explain it to him. He's promised to come down for one more visit, which would be good now, and have him tell us a specific caulk that he had mentioned to me that can be used, that mice will eat through. That's real important. And maybe we can tighten this up real good. That's for that. Now, as far as the damage that you found with relation to the ants or whatever termites or whatever's going on. Up,
And talk to the microphone.
yep, sorry. I think it would be a good idea that we could consider extermination. Once in a while, it doesn't have to be every day or every month, like or maybe not as frequent as we're thinking about the cleaning, but I'll defer to Stan, where you might probably have some ideas about this because you've done a lot of work on it. See what you think about it.
Yeah, I took a number of photographs yesterday afternoon, and I think I sent them to you yesterday evening to everybody here. That wasn't the sum total of all of them, but you can only repeat a certain picture so many times, so I provided 3 of those. After thinking about it for a while, and looking to the right of the area that I noted the pest damage, I noticed that there had been a bead of silicone caulk that was pressed in an area that extended basically from where the security panel is and the fire safety panel over to the left of the heating oil tank. That caulk line extends probably several feet over to the corner toward where the room below the vault is. And I made a point of looking, and I did not see any sawdust in that immediate area, which would clearly be an indication of current activity. I'm looking at the fact that whoever put that safety panel, that fire and security safety panel up, put it over that, because there's quite a big gaping hole. It's probably about 4 inches wide, and it goes up about an inch into that 1.5 inch thick sill plate. So that may in of itself be an access point somehow, some way for the mice. But I would think first recommend having a pest inspector come and look at it. Normally, when I did appraisals, you got close to an area where there was that kind of deterioration,
Okay.
you could hear them chewing inside the window.
Yeah.
And I did not hear that. So it may be that when this building was built, there was a termite infested board that was treated, but they put it in and it's been there ever since. So I would not look at ordering a remedy to the infestation to find out if it's active and whether they recommend we do it now.
Okay,
That might be a savings in and of itself just to do that.
okay. I would
I
suggest.
don't know if that makes sense to anybody,
Yeah,
but
makes sense to
you
me.
know, I know that can get quite expensive if they do the
Remediation.
remediation aspect of it.
But we don't need to replace any boards or anything like that. I mean,
I wouldn't think so, but again, if in fact that area of clearly being gouged out and substantial size, more than enough for mice to enter, assuming that it goes through. And I did not see it from the outside, so I don't know where they're coming in specifically, other than the photo I sent you of the oil filler tank, the heating
I
oil
saw
filler
that.
tank. There's enough room in there that I think one mice can get by.
Now, that was from the inside out.
That was from the inside out, but
I
it's
know
sizable and long
that.
enough,
Yes, it is.
so they may be able to come in. That would be Scott's call to make, I would think.
Uh-huh.
There was one other spot in the far corner, I did not provide a picture of it, where there wood appears to be carved out in the corner. And the feces from the mice are on both sides of a small path from that corner to the remainder of the sill plate. Don't know what that means, but I think Scott should take a look at it and see if that's another possibility. But I will tell you one other thing. When I first came down here to go around the building with the photographic scope, it's got a 3-foot line cable hooked to a camera. So I held up and went along the entire outer sill of this office.
Oh, did you?
Yes, there is no hole that I could see anywhere from that west wall down.
Uh-huh.
I looked at the comment you had made when I thought there was a hole to the left of the bulkhead. I cannot find one.
Well, you filled it.
Oh, well, I know he filled the one with the 2 buildings net,
Yeah.
which he was supposed to do.
Oh, there was one past, because he showed me that.
Okay, I haven't found that one, I haven't seen it, I
Well, he
didn't see it
filled it.
inside or out.
He took care of it.
Okay,
But go ahead, finish.
there is one spot on this corner over here. He used special plastic devices to tuck up in each corner of the building because of the way the wood often meets, it's not fully touching, so there are spaces. The plastic filler, the preventative filler that was supposed to be in this corner, he was not able to install. The filler, because he pressed so hard, actually broke. It fell on the ground, it's still there, you went out there, now you see.
Oh.
Okay, so I will offer that. It's not a complaint, just an
No, no, no.
observation, okay? I did see, in terms of termite, whoever's gonna order or contact a termite person, there are mud tubes. I think there's 5 or 6, one right beside the other, in the very right corner of this southwest corner of this building. And I don't know if that might be the insects that caused that damage, if it is inactive, or whether that's just something that's a non-event, but the insects built it because it was convenient location for them to do so.
Well, my reaction is first, before we bring Scott in, is to find out what's going on with all the soil stuff.
Okay,
Okay, and I would really like to do that before Scott and have you involved in both these stages, because you know where everything is, if you don't mind. When we go to round, once we've got that understood and a process going forward, which I think we should do now, because it's a good time to do it, it's not end of fall or anything. Once that's done, I'll call Scott and go that route and have you involved in that, because you know every spot, and I really would like to see you show him. So he could, not that he would do any work, but he could help us with the mediation of it and what to do with it. Because it doesn't sound like it's a complicated thing, it's just caulking, but you have found areas that he obviously didn't. And when he did the work, he did it in 2.5 hours. Because it was blocked, it was easy, because I went to Brown and came back, I know exactly how it was, but whatever, it was 2.5 hours. So I would like the board's permission to for us to pursue getting somebody over here to take a look what's going on with that rot and with what's going on with the bugs. Once we resolve that, exterminate as necessary, I'd like the board's permission for that as well. And then, once that's done, we'll do the Scott route and at least finish off the ceiling, unless anybody else has a better suggestion than that.
I think that's wonderful. I would just offer one additional comment, and that is, I would let Scott know currently that there seems to be a trailing of, there's still some kind of activity. Because 2 months from now, he might say, why did you wait so long? And
Okay.
get a little excited about that. The sooner he knows, the better it is, and we're working on it, maybe we don't need to write now, but we will get back to you when it's.
I think that's
So
a
that,
great
so that he
suggestion.
doesn't feel blindsided and trying to take advantage of it.
I will call him and discuss the whole thing, I will tell him what we've done and what I have found for mice and what I have done in terms of additional traps and everything that you, in a nutshell, what you just explained.
Sounds good, sounds good. I like that.
Okay, I'm gonna.
okay, go ahead. So let me just clarify, you're gonna talk to Scott about the mice and other conditions that related to the mice, but the possible termite pest control is a different vendor or would be a different,
Correct.
okay, all right, thank you. All right.
Correct, but what Stan said, which is a really good idea, is to let him know that we have this issue going on. Basically, to brief him, just to keep him updated, so when I do
Okay.
call him a week or 2 weeks down the road, that like Stan says, I haven't blindsided him with all these other things that are going on.
Okay, thank you. Go-
So if I could ask a couple more things.
Okay.
So then I'm sensing that this would be a point in time for a vendor to be contacted, to have them look at that, correct?
Yeah,
Or is that
Well, I
another
can-
meeting, another decision?
No, Scott's easy to reach, I could call him.
No, I'm not talking about Scott,
I know.
we just another vendor for
Just so
the
I'm
insects.
aware of him.
Okay.
Now it's great.
Is that something that you'd be willing to do? Maybe use the list that I had of those other people that do pests, that are insects and mice?
I don't know if I have.
Okay, I sent you a copy if you need it,
Okay.
if you're willing to do it.
Sure, I guess so. I mean, I've got things on my plate that are pretty serious. I
I mean, if
wouldn't,
you don't, if you can't, I'll help, I'll step in.
would you?
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it. I got some issues that I'm dealing with right now that are pretty serious.
Okay, all right.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I can do this other stuff that I've committed to, plus also take care of Susie's. So if you could do that, that'd be helpful. I appreciate it much.
Yeah, no, thank you for your honesty, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Make things happen.
Okay, and I'll try to screen through Susie's, but there's been a little bit here. You got a bunch of stuff that I sent to you all. I contacted Mo Mommy, I've sent you all a note about that. He's looking at a 4 to 5 week window to painting the building. I've changed the UV system over a week ago, the beginning of the month, to the other UV system. As of today, it's working fine. I'm trying to remove the first water filter to see what the condition of it is, because it's been 3 months. It's a 25-to-1 micron water filter that was put in prior to an additional water filter that was more expensive, which is supposed to last 25,000 gallons. I'm having a hard time getting that water filter off because I need to probably use a really strong mallet and a punch to get it off. It won't come off by the clamp. It's probably under high pressure. I have to like whatever. Now, one couple other things. There have been basically 3 months of no serious charges to our financials with Susie's. Hallelujah. I would say we've probably spent about $150 is my guess. A part of that would be the $95. I believe we had a bill first week of April.
I just
for
sent it,
testing,
yep.
correct? And the other costs are maintenance costs, like I just went out and spent $43 today at WW for bags of salt and then been keeping on keeping that topped off, and that's working. So far, everything's fine. There's a lot of condensation coming in, but that's normal stuff. Okay, as far as the financials go, you all can look at this later, but as the end of May, it was 11.4, I believe, that we had in the account. And if you add the other to $3,800, that would bring us up to like 15.2-ish or so, minus some of these little bit of costs. So we're somewhere around the $15,000 neighborhood. So we're past the point of no return as far as needing the 14.5 to paint the building. So we're starting to go in the plus again past that. Over and above the money that we need for the painting. Peter, am I going too fast?
Yeah,
You got questions?
always.
I'm sorry, I was trying to slow.
Funds at about $15,000 and that's more than budgeted
That's more than what we need to do the painting,
or more than what's needed?
which is 14.5 to paint the building. I'm sorry for the too fast.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on.
Bruce, can
Okay.
I ask a question?
This is your 10.
Are we holding on any other expenses that we don't absolutely have to make on that building for the time being?
Holding on to any other expense, I don't know what you mean, Dave.
Well, I'm
You mean
just
like
saying that
insurance?
every now and then there are things that come up to I don't know, repair some outside. There hasn't been anything lately. I'm just saying, I guess my point is we barely have enough money. We're barely going to have enough money for the next few months to pay for the painting. So we shouldn't be spending any money on that building that we can wait on. You know what I mean? So any projects whatsoever that don't have to happen right now, that aren't emergency plumbing repairs or things like that, we should not be doing, right? We're all in agreement on that. So we're not
Correct.
spending anything on it, anything else.
No. The only thing I'm doing is keeping up with the little stuff like the salt and stuff like that. What's my favorite phone? No, there is, I shouldn't say this, but there is nothing major going on right now. And I hope it stays that way. I thought all the work that we spent, the money we spent, and the work we've done has ended for now. And as of the first of next month, we'll have another $2,000 in the account. So as of September 1st, there'll be another $2,000. And unless something happens, oh, there is one thing. And that's Nancy Burke's water testing is gonna be $300. I don't know what the total is, I have to look at it again. We got these
Or
the unfunded mandates by the state of Vermont to do certain water testing periodically, like every 2 or 3 years. We're getting some of that within this quarter. I forget what the total is, but if everybody wants to know what the total is, I don't know if it was, you sent it to me, Guy, did you send it?
Yeah, I sent you a bill for $95.
No, not
That you
that.
just did the water testing. The amount before was somewhere $440.
That was all the expenses she expected to incur.
Right, for
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm pertaining to, Dave, and everybody.
quarterly, state mandated thing.
Well, it's not quarterly, it's like every 2 or 3 years, those particular testing, if I remember correctly. But anyway, in direct response to what David was saying, that's the only thing that I know of, David, that is of any major expense, other than everything else is fine at this point. But then I got an email from Olivia one day, a week ago, saying that they're having issues with cooling the building. And they're thinking about putting a mini split system into the building. And they wanted, for 5 rooms, and they wanted to know if we would consider picking up some of the costs. And I said, time out. Then I sent her an email and said, we gotta talk. So I went, and I was totally against it. And then I went and met with her, and my first reaction, my first statement to her was, how can you expect us as a select board to spend money on an install that is for you, that you're gonna own? She said, wait a minute. It's a permanent install, would go with the building.
I'm gonna ask
And you
that
go for
this needs to go on a separate item on the
Yeah.
agenda for
Go
a
for it.
discussion at another time. It's not
It's
on
too
the
much.
agenda, it's too much.
You're right. So I'm just telling you what was, I guess what I'm telling you is the conversation I had with her, and we can revisit next time, unless somebody else has a question. It's fine, that's a good thing.
All right.
And with that, I think I'm done. And Peter's happy.
All right.
While we're still in that category, for clarification purposes, might I ask a question?
Oh, yeah.
Speak up now.
Regarding the insect dilemma. Are people expecting me to make calls to see what the cost is? Or are people expecting me to, or I volunteer to make calls to have someone actually come and look at it? Or do we go through the process, or should we go through the process of getting the quotes for cost of inspecting first, vote on it, and then have them come? Because I'd like to be able to express that in my discussion as to how we're gonna approach that. But not only that, it would make me more comfortable knowing that I'm not going against the sentiments or feelings of the board. I'd like to have some clarification so I can feel more peace of mind.
I think we should open it up to the floor if anybody else.
Okay. All right, good point. So the question is how to proceed about pest inspection, not the mice inspection. How did we get the mouse inspector in here? We had a list of several vendors, 6 or 7 or 8 different vendors that we contacted, and then we
for that dilemma, there were 4 that were willing to come. I picked the 3 that showed the most willingness to come, called down and got quotes. Then I provided that back to the board made a recommendation, and we went with the person that everyone felt would better serve the package from all perspectives of cost, thoroughness, expertise, et cetera.
Speaking for myself, that I would think that we would follow the same procedure, if we could get a list of people, contact them, see who'd like to come in. If they have free estimates, well, let's survey the board, we'll go to David.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes the most sense to do it that way.
Glenn, how do you feel about that?
I'm sorry I missed that. I had an emergency phone call from my sister, so I missed what you were talking about.
Oh, we were just talking about the procedure to get a possible termite or pest inspector in, following the same procedure we did for the rodent, and that would be to find a list of vendors, contact them, and see which ones will come in to do maybe a free inspection.
Sounds good. Perfect.
Bruce?
I agree.
With that, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, Mark, I always feel so bad, I should probably move you up in the meeting minutes so that you don't have to stay around the whole meeting. Mark, highway roads, the supervisor report, I did put there that we do have the letter of intent that was sent to the road grant and aid, and that we did get a grant of $6,700. But if you could tell us what you're doing and what you're going to do, that would be great. Thank you, Mark, it's your floor.
Okay. I guess, as you said, we Dot had signed a letter of intent to go ahead with the grant for erosion control, Clean Water Act, and I met with Chuck Nugent on site on our most priority spot, and I was showed what he would like to see done as far as stone line ditches and possible culvert replacement right off the pavement. And we talked about that they were larger than 18-inch diameter culverts, and he wanted me to talk with Mark Pickering from V-Trans to decide whether these culverts need a hydraulic study or if they're okay to just upgrade. So I have a meeting with Mark Pickering coming up this week. I also used up all of the stock of cold patch in the town garage. We buy it by the pallet, and I had ordered a pallet of cold patch bags to fill potholes, and that was ordered and received last week. I also will ask Archie about working on the new grant, see if he's interested. I would like to back up a little bit. I did go out with a grader since we last talked and touched up a few places, but because of the hard rains we had, I will continue to go out with the grader as needed in the oncoming days. I would like to ask the board permission if we could continue with the project we started with back in the winter. Car tree came to town and took down possibly about 100 average sized trees, and because of our budget we had to stop, and we have a section of trees for a drainage project on Hill Road that I would like to continue with. And now that we are into the new budget, he gave us the pricing of $2,500 for one day's work with all of his crew and all of his equipment. And I would like to ask the board if I can invite Tar Tree Service to come back for one day to continue the trees that we had discussed at that time. So how does the board feel about hiring Tar Tree for one day at $2,500 on the new budget?
Bruce? need to add to that, so that's a good.
I think when I was talking to whomever it was about what was in the file, maybe it was the guy that showed me all the amount of people that were in the files that were vendors files, Jeffers and da. I think Carr is in there already.
But I didn't put them on my list that we voted on earlier, because I didn't write it down. So we say the list was incomplete, so that's just another one. David, what do you think about hiring Cartree for one day at $2,500 to continue the work that Mark needs done?
Yeah, I think assuming there's money in the budget with what we foresee doing, that we still have to do for various grants and things like that, then yeah, I think it makes sense to do it if we have the money.
Well, we're, right now we're flush, we have 100% of the budget available. Who knows what will happen during the year, but.
Well, but we also need to consider though that there are things that we know we have to do because we have to spend money to satisfy the grants that we talked about earlier and some of the existing grants, in order to be able to get the payback of that. So we have some costs that we've presumably already locked ourselves into having. So it's, we don't have all of that money is not unspoken for.
That's true. Gwen? She's maybe on the phone again, sorry, I hope everything's okay.
Yeah.
All right, we need to do a vote on this?
You probably have to, it's expenditure of money.
Okay, all right, I'll make a motion to approve 1 day's worth of work by Cartree for $2,500 to complete work necessary for the erosion project. And I have a second.
Second?
Seconded by Stan. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving $2,500 for 1 day's work from Cartree Company for the removal of trees on Hill Road, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all right, Mark, we will give you have the permission to work with Cartree and get that work done at this time.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you all. And one other thing, I know maybe it's too early to start into that new budget, but I just thought if I asked him now, I know he's a busy person, that it may not happen for a month, and we won't get the bill till after he's done. So I just wanted to be able to call and have him put us on his list. So
Perfect.
I think by the time we get a bill, it'll be a month down the road at a minimum.
Okay.
Okay. Anything
Thank
else,
you.
Mark? Is that it?
No, that's it at this time.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, we'll just finish up the select board meeting. You can see we had a couple of communications, emails about the webinars, homestead and non-homestead tax rate, disability rights Vermont survey, the Humane Society contract. Those all came through email. And regular mail was the Humane Society contract. All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we approve. We have 2 payroll warrants and 1 accounts payable warrant to approve today. I'd like to make a motion to approve payroll warrant 2021-25 dated March 23rd, 2021 in the amount of $1,610.01. May I have a second?
Don't you mean June, not March?
Yeah,
Did I say
you want to
March?
amend that. Yeah, you said March.
Dated June 23rd, 2021 for $1,610.01. May I have a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor for payroll warrant 2021-25 dated June 23rd, 2021 for $1,610.01 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, payroll warrant has been approved. I'd like to now make a motion to approve. Hold on a second, make sure I got the right word. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant 2022-01 dated July 7th, 2021 in the amount of $31,861.43. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving accounts payable warrant 2022-01 for $31,861.43 signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, a motion passed. One more. I'd like to make a motion to approve payroll warrant 2022-02 dated July 7th, 2021 in the amount of $3,328.56. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving payroll warrant 2022-02 for $3,328.56 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion has passed. Thank you very much. All right, setting the agenda for the next meeting, Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. We'll have progress on the round schoolhouse. Any update on the American Rescue Plan Act, if any? Follow up on any questions on the VLCT diversity, equity and inclusion training, handicap signage, pest control and office cleaning, animal control. And anything else that comes about. Anybody want to add anything at this time?
I just wonder if I'm getting the fence posts soon. Is that something that Mark could do within the timeframe of the next meeting? Or did you need an advisement that I got them? Or should I just email
No,
you right now?
the job can be done.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
the job can be done. You just tell us
You got it.
if, yes, I've done. Okay, if there's nothing else at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this evening's meeting. May I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of this evening and ending the meeting at this time signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the meeting is adjourned at 8:57 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks,
All
Doc.
right.
You've done a heck of a job.
Oh, jeez.
This was a hard meeting to prep for.
I couldn't do what she does.
All right, so I don't
do it,
know,
I hate it.
I don't know how we.
Hey, Dot, can you let me know when Fact TV is off?
I don't know how to do that at this time. Let me see. Hold on. I think I can do it
In
from my.
Zoom. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Well, yes, thank you. You have a safe trip home.
It's,
Think of it.
A cool trip.
I'll try to go slower. I try to rush through it because people put time constraints on me, so I'll try not to go so quickly.
David, I can't tell you.
What are you trying to think?
Oh, down in Florida,
I'm trying
Broke down,
to,
living in
usually
a
I
gas
can move them
station.
into their,
Till they fix my
remove them
crankshaft.
from the room.
When was
And
it?
next door. it's about-
See, that's, oh, yeah, because.
Nothing racist.
76.
Wow.
And next door, there was a little bar, I could play the banjo there for fish and chips. And there was a guy playing the guitar there.
Put him waiting room.
What?
Yeah, put a waiting room.
Raw.
Roy